Okay, so now you've had your career, and Stephanie is graduating with this unique new type of degree. She's the first person who has ever dual majored with an MBA and a master's in gerontology. So now you kind of have to forge your own career, and you have to think about what jobs am I going to go after. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you did that? So how did you go after your first job?
Sure. It was right in the middle of a recession.
Oh, so that sounds like that was fun.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people can relate having, the current economic climate and everything, and finding a job can be challenging in a downturn. So I really had to work at it. Fortunately, I had done a couple internships, which I think are so key, and when I was at conferences and things like that as a student, I would take advantage of the opportunity to go meet with the presenter, speak with the presenter after the presentation, and then I'd follow up with them and ask them questions when I would write a paper that had to do with maybe with their topic or things like that. So I had already a few people to call upon, and that really helped me a lot in my job search. But what I did was I focused on, okay, what companies really care about older customers and are really committed to this market. And it was interesting. It's hard to imagine at the time, but very few companies were focusing on older customers. It was kind of and our culture still is very youth focused. But healthcare is kind of a natural. And I was fortunate to come across a company that ended up being the first insurance company to focus on older customers and have the first Medicare risk HMO.
Okay.
So it's wild to think, but at the time, health insurance companies were saying, why would we insure old people? They're old, they're sick, they're expensive. Why would we do that? But this company was very innovative and kind of saw the opportunity. And if you really give older customers and older people the right health care, then they aren't necessarily that expensive or too expensive to have a business. And by the way, there are a whole lot of them, and if you don't know how to do it right, that's going to be a problem for the future. So it was I have tended luckily to land in fairly innovative companies that are kind of thinking more for the future or looking at things a little differently. And so
I have a question about that, because it sounds like your approach to looking for a new job is different from many that I know of, and I've noticed this about you, which I think it's really a good approach, and it's a thoughtful approach, and a lot of people don't take this approach, I think, to their detriment. I think most people will do is they'll look at want ads, or they'll go and they'll look for job openings, and then they'll just try to squeeze themselves into the job opening. And what I noticed that you did is you talked to speakers at conferences and started to build relationships with them so that you could reach out to them. And I actually want to ask you at some point how you knew what to say, because I think people out there are probably going, oh God, how would I call on someone from a conference? But I also want to address the other part of it, which is you thought, and you still do think, what companies are doing what companies are focused on what I'm interested in. And I think that's a unique approach, but if you can sort of talk about that a little bit, kind of how you even figured, how did you even discover a company that was focused on it? Maybe how did you figure that out, or I don't know if Google had occurred by that time or not.
Yeah. No, I think I was almost forced into it because what I'd chosen as my career was so specialized, so different. So it's not like, like today I still can't put in the LinkedIn filter for looking for jobs, put gerontologist.
You still can't.
I still can't. I put that in there and I get zero.
Wow.
Zero matches. So, and LinkedIn didn't exist at the time, but it is similar in the want ads, or, we had monster.com, things like that. So I have always kind of been forced to have to do it a little bit differently, or to really have to carefully consider, my approach, or to think outside the box and that kind of thing. At times I've had to sell myself and my skills as a business person, so more so to get in. So it's in the early stages of my career, the MBA really was what helped me get that first 1 or 2 jobs.
Okay.
They liked that I had the gerontology, but that was kind of like, oh, that's nice, But later on, and then I was able to find, I ended up working at the Hartford as a corporate gerontologist, so that was my title. And
that was your first job that had the title gerontologist in it.
Yeah, my first company that really hired me as a gerontologist and sought after me for that, and so that was really exciting. But that still is really rare. So yeah, I really had to kind of do it that way with and you asked about the conferences and all. I think as a student, you really have that benefit where people like to help you. They really are excited to help a younger person in the beginning stages of their career. So never be shy about that, or never, even in the throughout your career, people they do want to help, and to keep that in mind. I tend to think sometimes, oh, I don't want to bother them, or, oh, but they really, if they're going to speak at a conference, likely that they really care and are passionate about their job and what they're doing, that they spent the time to go speak at this conference and prepare and take time away from their work and all that. And they're probably kind of a leader in their particular area, so they are really happy to talk to you about it and to give you some advice. So.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So I'm going to actually go into the weeds a little bit here, and maybe we can do a little bit of a how-to. So did you make a list of companies? Did you start by talking to people in the conferences, or how did you start your career search out of college?
I am a big list person, but I also just kind of, it often is who you know, really, so I would think of who do I know, and that would be the first focus.
Okay, so a list of people?
Yes, yeah.
And then did you know what you were going to ask these people?
Yeah, I mean, before I would go to meet with them or call them, I would have in mind, their area and kind of the angle, I guess you would say, what really, where's the fit maybe for me.
Okay, so you actually thought through, you made a list of people. These are people maybe in the industry, and you thought about what they're doing, and then maybe how they could get value from someone like you. And then you just went and pitched, kind of like when you were at USC and you went to the School of Business and said, hey, let's just do this dual degree. You just pitched.
Yeah, and it always helps to, if you have a relationship with them, and I've gotten to know them over time, to also just on a social aspect, oh, hey, it would be great to, meet with you and get caught up on what you're doing, or things like that. That always helps. So I always have to keep that in mind, that there is a benefit to keeping in touch with people and staying in touch. And so it's also kind of just a social thing as well.
So just to build a really strong network and continue to be interested in people, and then at some point there's going to be a conversation that will also give both of you ideas on where you can move forward in your career and benefit from them. Great. So some added incentive to continue to network and to build your network and nurture your network, and also to think a little bit more outside the box when it comes to looking for a career, because that can really serve you.